Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the GepRC Cinelog25 V2. I stressed the V2 because out of the box I thought this was a shipping mistake and this was just the Cinelog 25, which I did like, but it was like 2 years ago. This one, similarly to the one I reviewed 2 years ago or so, has the RunCam Link, the previous DJI Air unit in it, as well as the Wasp. And I am either mistaken or I wasn't seeing it, but when I looked for camera settings to change this to widescreen, I did not find camera settings available. Tell me if I'm wrong about that, because it seems like I have not been flying the Vista recently very much, but it was grayed out. I couldn't do nothing with it. The flight controller, which has the USB port right below my thumb there, is the Taker G4 35 amp all-in-one. Motors are the GepRC 1404 4500 kV motors. And on those motors are 63mm HQ props. The model name is DT63x4 because, quad blade. So it's a 2.5-inch quad. Some of the changes that I noticed from the previous iteration, which I don't think I am going to recognize all of them, they put little TPU prints over this, so when you land, you'll land a bit softer. I didn't notice it called out on GepRC's website, but these prop protections feel more stiff than what I recall, and they also look thicker as well. But overall, I think the design is very, very similar. We've got this stabilized or vibration dampened plate to put our HD cameras on, which we mount right here, and the mount does come with the kit. Our FPV camera also has vibration stabilization built within it. That may also be a change. Unfortunately, I don't have the original Cinelog anymore to visually compare them. I also think the antenna is different than last time, because I don't think we had this antenna around back when I originally reviewed the Cinelog 25, but that may have came along in the first iteration, maybe just later on. It weighs 167.9 grams. And if I add a naked camera, yeah, this is a Flywoo GoPro and it is naked here, we get almost 9 grams. I found that I liked these batteries the best as far as flying this one for not only a slow, steady flight, but in more aggressive flight as well. And these are the GNB 650 milliamp 4S batteries. So all up, if we put it all together, it weighs 288.82 grams. If you take off the naked GoPro, it weighs 238.8 grams. So you can get under 250 grams if you want to. You could take the HD camera mount off too and probably drop another 1.5 grams. Carbon fiber looks like it's 2.5 millimeters thick. Looks like motor post to motor post, I'm getting about 114 millimeters. And as I was measuring that, I noticed that we couldn't see the motor stem through the carbon fiber. That also might be a difference, but I don't remember seeing that in my video, but you may have. Comes with an extra set of brown foam to wrap around the edges if it gets a little torn up. Comes with 2 spare battery straps, different sizes, for different size batteries. You do get a little a balance lead adapter for an external HD camera if you have a need for one of those. I believe this is a mount if you have a crossfire version. We also get an Allen key, little protection ring to put around our camera nose if you like to do that. Extra rubberized, texturized battery mat that we can put on the quad. I didn't put any on the quad because I didn't think it was necessary with this strap. It's got a rubberized texture to it. I believe the screw that I have left in there is the M2 8mm screw. Also get a baggie of M2 7mm screws. A GepRC keychain. Get a fairly lengthy 1-sheeter on the Taker G4. Shows you all the different wiring that you might need for buzzers, receivers, and different sorts of VTXs. Safety notice card, disclaimer and warnings pamphlet. You get a color quick start guide, support card, social media card, and 3 sheets of stickers. I failed to mention it does come with a complete set of spare props. It was laying under some of the other baggies where I was unbagging stuff out of the package. Obviously, we've already started the flight. We're going to start with the inside flight. Here with the Vista, we don't have the OSD stuff that you're probably accustomed to seeing with others. It keeps that text file, that SRT file. There probably is a way for me to go through and pre-process that to get the SRT data out and put it on screen as an OSD, but I did not do that. I haven't done a ton of research, and even though I have 2 of these GepRC Vista quads sitting here on my desk, the one that we're looking at right now, and the Dark Star. Yeah, the Dark Star did arrive. I'm a little bit curious. The first question I want to know is if you're looking at a quad like this, or really if you're looking at quads in general and you are in the digital FPV realm, is the RunCam Link / the old Vista / the original DJI Air unit, is that something that people are still flying? I suspect there are. I'm just curious about the popularity. And when companies ask me if I want to review a product, should I be pretty hard-nosed as far as what VTX type I'm choosing? And, you know, I don't want to say avoid this because that makes it sound like it's bad. It's not that it's bad. Obviously, you get a great picture and you get outstanding penetration of range. Here I'm flying outside and I'm sitting inside the house with the window or the door open that we flew right out. So there's nothing bad about it, especially from where we came from when I got started in the hobby. But, you know, is it something that I should kind of persist to, hey, you know, if we don't have stock on an air unit, just hold off until you do, or, you know, maybe this one's not one I'm going to review unless we do have an 03. I just don't know how important having an 03 on it, or should I just drop all the way down to analog? Because that is an option with this one. This one has 3 different versions. It's got analog, it's got the 03 version, as well as this Vista. And they come at different prices, and they also have different receivers. And the price can range from, I think it went from, I'm shooting off the hip here on the low end price. I think it was $299 on the low end for like analog, and then it went up to like $549 for the 03 air unit. So a little bit of a pricing information. Of course, you may find this at different prices depending upon your reseller. I should mention the weather data before I get too long in the tooth and you all hop away. Pretty calm day, winds in the single digits, 9 miles an hour. Of course, we're protected. We're in town. We're in a neighborhood with trees, houses, so not all the 9 miles an hour. Whenever it gets up to 9 miles an hour, you know, wind's not necessarily consistent here. It's not all hitting the quad, so it flies pretty dang smooth. I've also got some GoPro footage I would show you as well, and we'll switch over to that so you can get an idea of how it holds a GoPro. And even with the GoPro, I'm going to go inside the house and we're going to fly it around. So I think this is one of the things that with a 2.5 inch that we can't do with our super micro Cinewhoops is carry that external HD camera. So that might be something that people are still doing. I haven't been following it all that closely here recently as far as Cinewhoops and putting a GoPro on top, even though we have what some might consider replaceable HD footage that we can get off, say, an 03 air unit that's recorded on board. I don't know, but that's really up to you that have that discerning eye and that discerning need to determine whether it's true or not. You know, maybe not in all cases, maybe not even in a few cases. But our original flight has ended there. We got inside flight, outside flight. I'm going to show you a little bit more of the outside flight that I did. Same day, I believe, according to my records that goes there. So your flight time on a 650 milliamp battery, flying slowly with a Vista and an external HD camera like I've got on mine, so full weight, you're going to get about 345. You may be pushing 4 minutes. Well, you'll probably definitely be pushing 4 minutes if you don't have the external HD camera, but you'll probably get closer to 4.5 without the external HD camera, and to say you offset some of that weight to with an 03. That's about what I would expect on a 650 milliamp. You can go up to an 850 if that's, you know, you're shooting for just longer flight time on it. I didn't care for an 850, especially when I was going inside. You know, the bigger your battery weight gets, the more it kind of pulls you. It sounds odd to say the battery is pulling you, but that is additional weight that is powering us, but it's also dead weight in that it's not providing us any thrust. So we have to counteract that with higher throttle, whether it be just in a hover or in any sort of coordinated turn. We have to use a little bit more throttle, and if the faster we fly or the tighter our quarters is, maybe, just maybe, we have to use even more throttle. The main point of me showing you the sample was that fly over the tree and the descent down. I thought it did really well considering the winds up there. You know, I think we had some gusts probably in the 15 to 16 mile an hour range there on this day, even though the winds were stated at 9 miles an hour. You know, we have gusts of wind, but I happened to, just by happenstance, be up above those trees when the wind was really starting to blow a little bit. So I wanted to show you that as well as the descent, because I think that's one of the things, if you're flying one of these and you're chasing a mountain biker downhill or a motorcycle, you want to know how is it going to descend, how is it going to go down, not just how is it going to go up, how is it going to go down, and how smooth the footage would be. So I wanted to take a moment to do that. Let's go ahead and move on to the faster flight where I just kind of test its agility and aerobatics. This is a different day, and the winds are, well, they're similar. Weather data had 11 to 12 miles an hour winds. It was pretty odd when I actually looked at the two different apps that had different miles per hour. That doesn't happen all the time. But of course, I'm flying a 650 milliamp battery, and I do not have the naked GoPro on top. And this flies very similarly to what I remember the experience of the original Cinelog 25. It doesn't fly grossly different by any stretch. I suspect, if anything, it's probably a little bit more efficient and maybe a little less powerful. I think that has probably to do with these quad-bladed props. I don't think these have the pitch on them that the original Cinelog, or at least when I had the original Cinelog 25, I think I recall those being pretty heavy pitched and also blunt ended, so those props probably weren't as efficient as the ones that we're currently running on this V2 version. So that's, you know, a little bit of just trying to take my experience in flying different things in different quads and then putting together kind of a subjective or opinionated sort of comparison as far as the flight performance goes. Because again, I don't have it anymore to fly it. I did fly that one a fair bit because it was one in this arena that was, at the time, you really couldn't fly those things very aggressively, reliably. They weren't designed behind that, and the manufacturers weren't targeting that at all. And now they've caught up, and where their tune is not only just suited for flying slow and flat, they understand that there are people out there that aren't looking at these as cinematic sort of quads. They're just general purpose quads. So they fly a lot better these days, especially in these faster circumstances. But the original Cinelog V1 was actually one I really enjoyed flying, and I don't tend to fly flat and slow. I tend to try to fly like, you know, if you follow the channel, you know, I like to whiz around the backyard, keep it on the property, and just have a good time and bring a smile to my face and relieve the stress of the day or anything, or just get away to do something fun. You know, I like to have fun when I'm outside flying, and even when I crash, it's fun. It's a little bit heartbreaking because even though most of this stuff comes to me without any charge of me, you know, they all come, not all of them, but a lot of them come free just to have them reviewed. I still don't want to break them because I tend to give these things away, and if I break them, then I can't really give it away, and I can't bring some joy to someone else, selfishly. But even though they're sent in for review, the companies don't get to see the videos beforehand. They don't get to see my review. They don't impact whatever I say. I say whatever I want. It's one of the things I think where it doesn't bother me if a company gets upset with me because, you know, this is just my hobby. I have a regular day job that I go to 5 days a week, just like everybody else out there with a day job, and that pays all my bills, and this was always meant to be fun. Okay, our fast flight has wrapped up there. According to my records, my fast flight was somewhere around 3 minutes and 14 seconds. Sometimes you'd get as much as 3 minutes and 21 seconds, though. So let me point out, or I kind of already have, but I'm going to go over it again here just in case. A couple of things that they did right. But tell me what you saw as far as the vibration dampening, because this is one of the few companies that I think is vibration dampening both cameras for us, and I think that's a good thing. It's not a good thing in cases where you're going to be flying it aggressively like I did the last flight, and then you have a really hard wang or crash into something. You know, these things can eject. They're just rubberized. One of the things that you can do if you're so inclined, every once in a while we'll see these and they have some special plastic insert, but in this case we don't. You could take some dental floss or some thread and just run it through there loosely to keep the platform from tearing off and then getting lost in a field or getting away from the quad too far. Gives you a fighting chance it sticks around. You can do that on both platforms, the lower and the upper. To change the camera angle gets to be a little bit fussy. See if I can remember how I did it. I think I stuck my hands in here like so, and I just kind of manipulated. I don't know if I'm lining this up right. I can't see the camera. You move this around until you can get a hex driver down in through the guard into that side. I suppose you could just angle it if you wanted to as well. But that's how I changed the camera angle, and then I tightened it back down, holding it out there as well. I mentioned it previously, but I think these are thicker. That should mean these are more durable. I do remember a number of people bought the original Cinelog 25 because they liked what they saw in my review video or based upon my review video, but the number one complaint that I heard back from people who owned this quad was that these broke pretty regularly. One thing I don't know is, you know, how are we flying? Were we just bumping into stuff? Because that's really what the prop protection is meant for, is just bumping into stuff. Slow, flat flying, bumping into stuff, and they'll probably be fine. Flying more aggressively, if you smack it into the grill or a cement pillar or something like I might have in my yard, then I still think it will break, but I think this could withstand more just because it looks thicker to me and it feels stiffer as well. But just feeling stiffer doesn't mean it's more durable. That can actually mean it snaps easier than something that bends and then returns. So I'm hopeful it's stiffer, but still flexes. As you can see here in my hands, it still flexes and then it comes back. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't think the foam is going to do much outside of just make it look cool. And I do like the brown. I was kind of shocked that I liked the brown. It just doesn't seem very fun, really, but I think it's actually kind of sharp if you're into that sort of thing. USB port is accessible. I showed you that in the quick specs right down there. USB port for your Vista is accessible as well. I presume with the 03 it would be accessible as well as the SD card. You know, they've got this little gap down here we should be able to work with. TPU mount antenna back here. Oh, I forgot. Let's see. Can you see this right here? See that? I snapped that. I tightened this press nut. I pushed it in. I thought I had it in, and as I tightened this down after I had my camera inserted, I heard it snap. Yeah, so dang it. It still held my GoPro just fine, but you know, just know that that particular plastic doesn't give too much before it snaps. So as you're turning it, it starts to tighten up. Don't get heavy-handed with it. Go easy there on that last half turn or so. You know, you may have it just enough. You know, check the flexibility of the camera. How much does it move? Because obviously I broke mine, sadly. Toilet tanking batteries, which is, I don't think it's something I came up with. I know some people think I did, but I don't think I did. I think I heard it somewhere else, and I've just been parroting it. But toilet tanking the battery, I like how that feels in flight for all quads. When I build quads, I tend to build them. Even my whoops, I'll try to build them to where I toilet tank the battery, whether it's up top or down low. I think it just feels slightly different, really on both the pitch and the roll axis. I prefer that. You might not. Everybody's different, you know. But they did do a smart thing in making sure these screws were recessed here around where our battery should go. They do in the instructions show you kind of where to place the battery mat. I didn't think it was necessary. Well, for two reasons. One, the battery's toilet tanked, and I don't tend to crash going sideways. So usually our crashes come forward. We may tumble sideways, but the propensity in my experience for a battery to eject sideways is less. And this battery, I keep calling it a battery mat, or wanting to. This battery strap has got a texture to it that I felt would hold on. So it's squeezing, you know, because we've got a layer of the battery strap at the bottom and at top, it's squeezing the battery kind of all the way around. So you've got this rubber texturized surface of your battery strap holding it on. And I am using the 15x200 there on the 650 milliamp battery. But I do think the smaller one would be better suited on the 650. Just cut off a couple of, well, maybe a gram and a half of weight because of the length, but this would allow you to run an 850 on there as well. XT30 for a battery connection, if anybody missed that, but that's pretty normal on our sub 3-inch quads. It's really unusual to see an XT60 on anything less than, say, a 4-inch quad. At least I haven't in my experience here over the last couple years. To my recollection, the cut of the carbon is the same. I don't see, nothing stands out to me as grossly different than it was in the previous iterations that I haven't already pointed out. GepRC obviously likes to put silk screening on their carbon. You can take a look at the carbon weave, but I've said it 100 times. I don't buy into the carbon weave because this layer is wallpaper on your wall. It doesn't show you anything what's underneath it, how the layers are put together, the laminate, the quality of carbon fiber. It's something to look at to let you know it's carbon fiber. I've seen it all sorts of different ways. Some is stiff and some is flexible. Let me give this the old squeezeroo. It's pretty stiff. You still flex it, but it's pretty stiff. So I don't know, nothing to really call out on that one. It's a little bit interesting. If I turn these props just right, you can see we have these little sleeves on the rear, but we don't have these on the front, probably because of how the hoops line up and the arms. Obviously this hoop is, or the support of the hoop is pinching those wires down, so they're not going to get up into the prop line, whereas this might. I have heard that these tend to lose their adhesion to carbon over time. I haven't experienced that myself, but through reports on the channel, I have a few people talk about how these eventually will loosen up. So if that's the case, you know, check them before your flight, check them after a crash, you know, do your responsible pre and post crash, or yeah, pre and post crash checks. Because all flights end in a crash, right? Not all the time, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's I don't have any complaints other than to ask you. Should I be saying, when these type of quads are coming through for review, saying, O3 air unit or nothing, how many Vista flyers we have out there? How many people who are looking at this, whether general purpose or for cinematic, get your footage sort of flight, are flying the RunCam link? We could see different cameras, and that's not necessarily a specific item I would ask about, but the video transmission system with these particular kind of quads. How many of you are out there? Please let me know. It's really important that I get feedback from the community on these sorts of things. That helps guide me on what you want to see, so I can better make a video that will enlighten you as to, not enlighten you, it will show you something that you may or may not be interested in. There could be a deal breaker, and I can't show it to you because I have one particular video transmission system that I've got. I guess I'm not going to have them all, but I'll try to hit the majority of people. I'll make my own sacrifices in order to show the majority of people the type of video transmission system they're looking for in a particular class of quads. I know there's a good number of you that are analog, and we had the giveaway that was running, and it may still be running, that will give me some additional feedback. But also in the comment section, let me know. It's something I would like to know. If you have any other questions, maybe something I haven't covered about this particular product, it should be available. I think it went live 2 days ago. So I'll have a link down the video description to the GepRC website. Resellers may have it already as well, or soon. I'll link them as I can get to it, but you can always send me your favorite reseller that might be carrying this quad or any other quad, and I will include it in the video descriptions as well. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the comments section below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.